Welcome everyone to our continued conversation from last quarter. Atticus is actually on the call today. And if anybody had questions or comments, once I turn it over to Marianne, I'm sorry, Marianne. Marianne, I'm thinking you're presenting as Anne-Marie. Once I turn it over to Anne-Marie. Well, we have Marianne Rosen on the call from Wisconsin, and she presented as well, so I apologize. But anyway, welcome to our first quarter. I cannot believe it's already February. Paul, today we're going to be talking about Parentage, the Child Parent Security Act. And this is actually the legislation that actually drove Rob and Atticus's presentation last November. So it's very exciting that we actually get to continue the conversation. Just a few things before I turn it over to Marianne. Anne-Marie. Sorry about that.
All right.
I'm really, really sorry.
It's okay.
I just want to remind everyone, if you are not on mute, go ahead and put yourself on mute until you want to talk. You're welcome to have your video on, but oftentimes if too many people have their video on, then the bandwidth gets dragged down and then we might lose people. So if you want to talk and turn your video on, if Anne-Marie asks for questions, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, once I'm done talking, I am going to turn my video off just so that we don't have any bandwidth problems. So, and I see Marianne back. Welcome back, Marianne. Now I'm getting you guys confused. Just a reminder that if you are on your computer and your phone, mute one or the other. Otherwise, we get background noises. And I would like to remind everybody that we do have a child support training partnership LinkedIn page. We would love it if you'd come out and join us. So just type in Child Support Training Partnership, ask to be our friend, and we will accept you. And we have some great information out there, and it's really a great way to connect everyone to each other and share information. We also have our Child Support Training Partnership website, and all of our newsletters and conference calls are out here on this website. And Jenny, who's been with us, I'd say for about 4 or 5 months now, she actually created a wonderful CSTP contact information form where you can actually go out, put your contact information in, and then if you want to present, let's say we have our call in, let's see, April. If you'd like to present in April, you could go out and say, hey, I'd like to present. You could submit it and Jenny will get that and send it on to me. Or if you want to write a newsletter article, you're welcome to do that. You could send that here. If you know of someone who wants to be added to the distribution list, they could fill out this form for that. And while I'm saying that, if you guys ever want to forward this invite to anybody that you think would enjoy our calls, you're absolutely always welcome to do that, and also forward their information and share. And we would love to have new members, so we're always looking for new membership. So, oops, there we go. So Anne-Marie, okay, will be presenting today. I'm not Marianne Rosen. Anne-Marie is a child support specialist with Child Support Services in the state of New York, and she has taken over, and I'm going to turn the call over to her. Is everybody seeing Anne-Marie's?
Appreciate that.
There we go. You're very welcome.
Before we jump in, since Atticus was kind enough to join us, hello, Atticus. I wanted to give everyone an opportunity. I know that he's not able to stay on for the duration of the call, but I wanted to give an opportunity. If anybody has any follow-up questions or comments from the November presentation, I'd love for you to take the opportunity now to go ahead and put those in the chat or unmute and ask your questions.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Yes, I'm available for any questions. I'm also going to put my email in the chat, so anybody can feel free to email me as well.
I can't see the chat, so Sean, can you let us know if there's any questions that come in?
You bet. I'm pulling up the chat as we speak.
Thank you.
It's giving me a little trouble today. All right, I am not seeing anything.
Okay, well, I see that Atticus did put his email address in the chat, so people can certainly reach out to him directly. Or if questions come up, just go ahead and put them in, because, Sean, if you see anything, just flag me, and I'm, certainly happy to take a break and give
Perfect.
Atticus the opportunity to answer those questions, okay?
Right.
All right. Well, my name is Anne Marie Yates, as you know, and let me go. I joined the Division of Child Support Services in 2007 as a program outreach specialist for our Fatherhood Initiative. In 2012, I moved to our Bureau of Program Operations. Then in 2017, I landed in our Bureau of Policy Planning and Training. Prior to coming to the state, I worked for the Professional Development Program of Rockefeller College as a senior education specialist, developing and training child support curriculum. And I did that for about 8 years. I'm now the liaison between the Division of Child Support Services and our child support training team, so I seem to have kind of come full circle, if you will. And this is my dog, Biggie Smalls. I bring that up because he's currently in his crate. If he's not in his crate and the cats next door walk by, he loses his marbles. So he's in his crate, but that's my little buddy right there. Okay, let's see. For some reason, oh, there we go. Okay. So anyway, before the passage of the Child Parent Security Act in 2020, gestational surrogacy was illegal in New York State. New York law also posed significant challenges for some parents in establishing legal parental rights with their children. In particular, establishing parental rights was difficult for same-sex families and for families that were formed utilizing assisted reproductive technology. Assisted reproductive technology is the application of laboratory or clinical technology to gametes and or embryos for the purpose of reproduction. LGBTQ+ couples had to endure an invasive, expensive, and time-consuming process, often including home studies and court-ordered adoptions, to ensure that both parents and children were protected by a legal relationship. The Child Parent Security Act expands protections for LGBTQ+ families in New York State and streamlines the process of creating binding legal relationships between children born through assisted reproductive technology and their parents. The Child Parent Security Act modernizes New York law by adopting best practice recommendations of the American Bar Association and the New York State Department of Health Task Force on Life and the Law. This new law ensures that intended parents who enlist the help of a third party to conceive their child have a secure legal relationship with their child from the moment of birth. It legalizes gestational surrogacy, where the surrogate's egg is not used and the surrogate has no genetic connection to the child, provided that the arrangement follows best practices in the field that protect the interests of the surrogate, intended parent, and child. This is not a situation that would be addressed with the signing of the Acknowledgement of Parentage, which is the main focus of this presentation, but it is a change in New York law. The CPSA also eliminates demeaning and expensive requirements for securing legally enforceable parenthood for same-sex couples and others. For example, the partner of a person giving birth can now be named as a legal parent of their newborn child immediately after birth, whether or not they are married, creating a legally binding parent-child relationship as soon as the child is born. And it ends uncertainty for securing legal parenthood for single women who rely on a sperm donor to build a family. In order to implement the Child Parent Security Act, we replaced our acknowledgement of paternity with the acknowledgement of parentage. Luckily, we can continue to refer to the form as the AOP. keep in mind that the legislation was signed in April of 2020, and the implementation date was February 15th of 2021. So for any of those of you who work in policy, you can understand the challenges that we had in getting this form implemented in under a year. This form has to be submitted in English, but for reference purposes, we've also translated the form into Arabic, Bengali, Chinese, Haitian Creole, Italian, Korean, Polish, Russian, Spanish, and Yiddish. We replaced the term paternity with parentage to remove reference to gender in recognition of modern families. Since the CPSA prompts changes in terminology, we have added definitions to our form that can help parents and those who assist parents understand the terminology. We also worked with our training team to ensure that the terminology was incorporated into all our training curricula. A video titled Acknowledgement of Parentage in New York can be found on the Child Support website under Child Support Videos. And there's also a link that you'll see on the screen, and I know Shauna is going to send this out. The form itself provides written notice of the parent's rights and responsibilities, and this video can be used to provide oral notice. And I'm just going to take a minute to show a little bit of the video.
Having a child is an amazing experience with so many things to consider and plan for. Today's families are often very different than families from even just a few years ago, as society and technology have progressed to make it easier for those who want to start a family to do so. In New York, if the birth parent is married at the time of birth, the spouse is considered the legal parent of the child. If a child conceived naturally is born to unmarried parents, or the child was born as a result of assisted reproduction to parents using medical procedures to produce pregnancy, both parents can voluntarily sign an Acknowledgement of Parentage form, commonly called an AOP. This form legally establishes who a child's parents are. It has the same legal force and effect as a court order determining the child's legal parentage, and establishes the duty of both parents to provide support for the child. This means that if the Acknowledgement of Parentage is not challenged, the birth parent does not have to go to court or to an administrative proceeding to determine or confirm the identity of the child's other parent. Before signing the AOP, each parent must understand what they are signing. By signing, both parents are indicating that they understand this is a voluntary process, that it has the same force and effect as a court order, that they have received oral and written notice of their rights and responsibilities, and that the information they are providing is true. You have a right to seek legal representation and supportive services, including counseling, to help you decide whether to sign the Acknowledgement of Parentage. Only 2 people can sign the Acknowledgement of Parentage to add the
Okay, that's just a brief excerpt from that, but certainly if any of you are interested, you're welcome to go to YouTube and watch the video. In addition to that video, we also have another one titled Completing the Acknowledgement of Parentage form. This one provides a step-by-step walkthrough of the form and can be a valuable resource for hospital staff or parents who may wish to complete the form on their own. All of our vital documents in New York are translated into the 10 languages that I mentioned before. Since these are not considered vital documents, we do have them available with Spanish subtitles.
Anne-Marie, could I pause for just a second? There are a couple of
Sure,
questions that have come up, and I just want to make sure that we answer them maybe at the same time you're presenting that information.
Yeah,
The first question
definitely.
comes from Carla. Do you require proof of the assisted reproduction in New York?
We don't require proof of it. I mean, typically they do have proof because generally in order to go through assisted reproduction, they've probably engaged an attorney, or, you know, they may have some things spilled out. They may have some, you know, other types of documentation, but it's not required.
Okay. And then Tracy says in Ohio, an unmarried mother who gives birth to a child is the legal custodian, of the child by virtue of given birth. Does the new New York law exempt surrogates from the definition of birthing mother?
I apologize for that. It does. The acknowledgement cannot be utilized in a situation of surrogacy. There's a different means for doing that. They certainly can still become the legal parents, but it's just not done through using the acknowledgement of parentage form.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for now?
Nope. Those were the only two at this point.
Okay. This is also a brochure that we've had a similar brochure in the past, but we updated this one to reflect the changes. Again, this one is available. The link is on the top of the screen, and this is also available in Spanish as well.
I don't know if, just really quick, I don't know if it's me or not, but I'm not seeing the presentation anymore.
Oh, wait, let me try to, hold on. Okay, here we go. Hold on a second.
Sure, no problem. There you go.
Okay, is it back now?
Yeah,
Super.
that's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yes, you're welcome. So this is the brochure, and again, there's the website is listed there if anybody wants to go take a look at that. Aside from the terminology used, scenario one is the traditional family who would have signed the old form, and I think most states probably have this. It's an acknowledgement form that an unmarried birth parent and an alleged parent can sign to establish what we formally called paternity. Scenario two represents the expanded use of the form created under the new law. This scenario allows establishment of parental rights for children born utilizing assisted reproductive technology, including those born to infertile couples and same-sex couples. We created a parentage mailbox to field questions about establishing parentage from parents, hospital staff, local vital statistics registrars, and people providing legal assistance to parents. We also get some questions occasionally from our local child support districts. The volume when we first started it was pretty high, and it's kind of leveled off now. A lot of people are really getting used to the process now, and we've tried to provide some good resources for people.
Hey, Marie, this is Sean again. Michael wants to know, in scenario one, is it alleged parent or biological father?
Well, it's the alleged parent because that's the person that both parties are indicating is the biological father. But until they've actually signed, then the alleged parent, until they sign, then they are referred to as the other parent after that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is what the form looks like, and the form is available at the web address on the slide if anybody wants to take a closer look. I know it's difficult to see on here. We've changed from identifying parents as mother and father to birth parent and other parent. And in each parent section, we added a new question that must be answered. The birth parent is asked, were you married at the time of birth? And the other parent is asked, are you the genetic biological father of the child? The answers to these questions have no bearing on whether the form will be accepted, but it's crucial that they're answered. The answers will determine how the AOP is filed in our putative father registry. In New York, our putative father registry is the confidential database of parents who have acknowledged parentage of children or been legally declared to be the other parent of those children. So currently, a no-yes scenario represents the traditional unmarried mother and biological father who would have been able to acknowledge paternity in the past. And these will count toward our paternity establishment percentage. If in the future the federal criteria for establishing parentage changes, we'll be well placed, having these questions, we'll be well placed to triage all potential situations. I think any of the states who are dealing with stuff like this would love to see us be able to, have PEP reflect all these different families and not just the paternity. Oops, I jumped ahead. If the other parent is a genetic or biological parent but not the father, then they should check no. If the other parent, the birth parent and other parent should both type or write their address on the last page, as well as the gamete donor if applicable. This will ensure that they receive copies once processed. If the acknowledgement includes the name and address of the known gamete donor of a child conceived through assisted reproduction, then the donor will be mailed a copy with the social security numbers of the signatories redacted. If the gamete, the reason that we do this is because if the gamete donor is identified through genetic marker testing down the road to be the biological parent of a child, having this can help them prove that they were not an intended parent and therefore are not legally responsible for the child. And if a family, hospital, or registrar ever has a question about whether a family should sign the form, they can run their scenario through this chart. We distributed this chart as well as some frequently asked questions to help people adjust to this new process. In New York State, and I think this might be true in many states, if a couple is married, regardless of gender, the spouse of the birth parent is the legal other parent of the child. So an AOP is not needed to establish parentage. However, not every state recognizes same-sex marriage. So they may sign an AOP to add an extra level of protection. The AOP has the same force and effect as a court finding of parentage and is entitled to full faith and credit in other states.
Marianne?
So, yes.
This is Sean again. I just want to ask these questions as they're coming up. So Tracy asks, so could a married mother and boyfriend sign the OPA, or is it POA? OPA?
AOP.
Yeah, AOP, sorry. So could a married mother and boyfriend sign the form?
Let me just back up. So when you look through this chart, it says, is the birth parent married? Yes. Then the other parent's spouse is either, if they're the alleged parent of a child conceived naturally, they cannot. If that person is the intended parent, then they can. But this is implying that the birth parent is married to the spouse. If she's married to, if the birth parent is married to another person and the biological parent being identified on the form is not the spouse, then no, they would not be able to sign the form.
Okay, so then Tabitha says, what about scenarios where parties were fine at first, but changed their mind later? And Tabitha, if you wanted to come on and elaborate if needed, please feel free to. But what about
Sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Actually, Anne Marie is my supervisor, so I was just asking that question for the benefit of the group. I also work in New York as child support specialist.
Yeah, thank you, Tabitha. There are very specific, there are scenarios where if somebody changes their mind, they can withdraw, they can petition to withdraw the acknowledgement. If the parents are over 18, they have 60 days from the date of signing to petition to rescind the acknowledgement. If the parents are under 18, or if one of the parents is under 18, they have 60 days from their 18th birthday to petition to rescind the acknowledgement of parentage. Other than that, once those 60 days have passed, they may only petition to have it withdrawn due to fraud, duress, or material mistake of fact.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know if anybody else on the call is currently going through this, if any states, I'd be interested to know if any other states have already adopted similar legislation or if anybody is in discussion of adopting similar legislation.
I'm not seeing any comments in the chat, Anne-Marie.
Don't have anything else, so I'm certainly happy to engage in any discussion or answer any questions that anyone might have. And certainly, let's see. This is the Parentage mailbox, and this is where I can be reached if anybody does have any questions that you think of down the road, or even if there's questions in the future, if you're going through something like this in your state and you want to reach out to New York, we're more than happy to help. There's no use in reinventing the wheel, right? Okay,
All
I know
right,
somebody said
oh, I wasn't sure if you could see the chat yet still.
I could, let me go.
So Marianne Rosen says, are there any challenges with the form? And if so, how are they addressed? If the mother is unmarried and has been the victim of sexual assault or domestic violence?
We have not had many challenges with the form so far. We get a lot of questions because I think dealing with same-sex couples is relatively new in the state, we tended to get a lot of questions around those. And so what I tried to do when addressing these questions is to have parents or have the folks working with the parents not look at the relationship between the parents. The relationship between the parents is inconsequential. All you need to do is put it through that flow chart and answer the questions. So it doesn't matter if it's a heterosexual couple, a gay or lesbian couple, it doesn't matter. The same rules are applying to everyone. So that's just been the biggest challenge, is try to get people to think out of the box and learn how to apply the tools that we've given them to the situations they deal with. And if the mother is unmarried and has been the victim of a sexual assault or domestic violence, I'm guessing in those situations, she probably wouldn't be amenable to signing the form. However, if she did sign the form, if she felt coerced in some way into signing the form, then she would have that 60 days to petition to rescind, or that's one of the situations, when I mentioned those three scenarios that they can look at after 60 days, it's fraud, duress, and material mistake of fact. So I think sexual assault or domestic violence would certainly fall within the purview of duress.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Could we request AOP copies through that email? You can actually, I put the website that leads you directly to the AOP right on the slide. And I know Shauna's gonna, she's gonna send the slides out. So you can just drop that right into your search bar and you'll go right directly to the form. You can also, again, you can see, once you get to our website, if you look around a bit, you can see all the different languages, if you're interested. The videos are there, the brochure is there. Oh, I mean, like if we need one on a case for New York. It's certainly suggested first that you go through the CESNET, but if you're having difficulty getting one, then you can certainly reach out to that email. I don't have access to them myself, but one of my colleagues does, and we've had a couple of occasions where she's been able to assist me in getting a digital copy that I can share. New acknowledgement of parentage form to cross-reference. Wait, I think I missed part of it. Okay. Let's see. Would it be possible for attendees of today's webinar to obtain copies of the original acknowledgement and the new? You have access to the new from that one slide, and I would be more than happy. Sean, if I share the old one with you, is that something that you'd be able to distribute when you send the slides?
Yes, absolutely.
Great, thank you. Let me make myself a note. Yeah, that might be helpful if there's any other states that are going to be making a transition like this. You know, it might be helpful to locate the parallels to your own current process with our old process, and then see how we transitioned it into the new process. It was definitely a challenging transition, and believe me, it was right down to the wire, to the point where the hospitals and registrars were getting these in the mail probably about a week before they went live. I had already done all the training about a month before. What I did today was just an abbreviated version of the training I did, because that training actually goes into a lot more specifics of how the form actually works, which, since you folks aren't working with the form, I didn't think I would bore you with all of that. But I did that I did about 7 deliveries of that training about a month before the form went live. And then again, certainly was available through the Parentage mailbox to answer questions. At this point, we have an arsenal of questions that have already been asked, and they're all categorized into folders so that it's pretty rare that we get stumped on a question. I don't think there's too much. Every once in a while I get stumped, but I've pretty much been asked at this point, I think, about 95% of the things I could possibly be asked. Every once in a while we get a tricky situation that I want to run past my legal team before I send out an answer.
Mary Ann also asked, what were some of the challenges that you faced politically as you worked through to pass the legislation?
You know what? Honestly, I wasn't really involved in it. When I became involved is when my bureau chief came to me and said, hey, look, this legislation was passed yesterday and we need to implement it in 10 months. Here you go. So I couldn't really speak to any of the challenges leading up to the passage.
What other questions do people have for Mary Ann regarding this process? And you're welcome to come off of mute and turn your video on if you wanted to, so she could see you. You don't have to. guys are a quiet group today. Not that that's bad.
Mhm.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to thank Mary Ann. I'm looking at Mary Ann and Marie for your time, and thank you for sharing Atticus and Rob with us last quarter and getting this conversation started. For the group, we will be sharing out Anne Marie's. I'm so sorry, Anne Marie's
okay.
presentation. Eileen Kelly O'Brien says it's great information. Mary Ann does say thank you so much, Anne Marie. It was very interesting. And as Anne Marie said, this will be going to our website, and I'll also send out an email letting everyone know that the information is on the website, and I'll have a link to the website. So you'll go directly to the website to get any of the information that Anne Marie provided for us today. Before I leave you all, or before we leave you all, is there anything else anybody could think of that they might want to ask of Anne Marie? I don't know that Atticus is still on. I don't see him. But if there are any questions that you might have for Atticus, let me know, and we can also get those to him, and then also put those out on our website for you all.
Yes, I thank you all very much for your time. And Sean, I thank you for allowing New York to kind of represent. We're very proud of the work that we've done to implement this, and
Absolutely.
our connection with Atticus and Rob was just such a great partnership. We're very pleased and proud of it. So we appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. And I think it's a great way to have a conversation about, life as we move forward with the different types of families. So I think it's very important that we honor those families. So thank you very much. If anybody
You're
does,
welcome.
absolutely, no problem. If anybody would like to volunteer for our next call, which is coming up in April, you're welcome to contact me if you have a topic that you would like to submit to speak about. I would be glad to hear from you. And of course, my email will be attached as a signature when I send out that this has been posted to our website. So thank you, everybody, for today. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you in April. And enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody, and those snacks that we all like. Hi, Mary Ann. It's good
You
to see your
too.
face. Bye, Anne Marie.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.